Hi, welcome to episode 286 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Twitter and Instagram, Fluffy K on Ravelry. I have an Etsy shop called the Corner of Knit and Tea where you can find my patterns and my handspun yarns. We have a Ravelry group called the Corner of Knit and Tea, and there is a blog called the Corner of Knit and Tea where you can find every episode show notes. That was a little out of order, but apparently I'm out of practice. I haven't missed a week, but I realized that I was jumping around and said the wrong things. So for those of you who are longtime viewers, you'll notice that I rearranged the introduction a little bit. Whoops. So, hi, how are you? It is Monday, July 13th. It is super warm here in Kansas. I'm coming to you from just outside Kansas City, sort of both sides of the river. I live on the Kansas side, so just outside the Kansas City metro area. It is chilly in the house because the AC is on, which is why I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I pretty much live in that during the summer, despite it being warm outdoors. But yeah, I hope that you are doing well. Last week was a little bit of a hard week. Nothing in particular going on, just, weeks of staying home and missing people and a little bit of missing our former way of life wearing on me. I was motivated to do a lot of spinning, but I realized that I don't have a ton of knitting progress for this past week. So I have lots of little things to show you, but I just felt a little bit out of sorts this past week. I think I'll be better this week. I also had a lot of work to do last week, and I have quite a bit this week. So I think maybe my time and brain energy has just been sort of shifted to that. But I have lots to talk about, as always, and things to show you, and yeah, I guess I don't have too much else in the introduction. Like I said, I hope that you're doing well. I hope you and your families are healthy. We continue to stay home and out of harm's way, and luckily our parents and families do as well. So, so far no one has been sick, and we are mostly, well, Wes and I are just working from home. And our parents luckily are retired, so they can kind of hang out around the house as well and not do too much socializing out. So that is the state of things here. Let's go on to today's tea. Today's tea, I brought another tea from Friday Afternoon Teas. I talked about this last week. They are a tea maker that I found through watching some Dungeons & Dragons being played online, and they have a bunch of D&D themed teas. This one is called the Bard's Blend. It is black tea, ginger, natural vanilla flavoring from the RPG Archetype collection. Pick your class. And that is from Friday Teas, which is fridaytea.com. I enjoyed the one that I had last week, which was it was French cookie. It was a black and almond, and so this one has ginger, and it's interesting because when I went to smell it, it smelled really strongly of ginger, but when I brewed it up, it actually just smells like a really strong black tea, and I just get a little bit of the ginger and vanilla, just ever so slightly. So I was afraid it was going to be a little too heavy on ginger, but it absolutely is not. I went looking for the perfect mug to put my D&D themed tea in and realized that I have no D&D mugs. So the closest I could get to nerdy fandom is the bronze mug that I got. It's a callback to Buffy the Vampire Slayer from years ago. It was the club that she used to hang out in. So I'm merging my nerdy fandoms. So that is what I'm drinking today. And I will put that in the show notes, and it's probably a little late in the afternoon for me to be doing that, but we'll just keep our fingers crossed. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll have to drink that quickly so that it doesn't keep me up all night. I usually try and cut off caffeine about 5. It never used to bother me, but after I hit 40, I noticed that my sleep patterns are a little off if I drink caffeine too late at night. The joys of aging. So let's talk about the knits. Some of you have noticed and commented on that I released a hat pattern this week. It was something that had been in the works for a while. I had originally been inspired to do a hat collection, and I was planning to do it at various intervals throughout this year, and then COVID happened, and for weeks I didn't really have the brain power to work on things, and honestly, the thing that spurred me to release the pattern this week is that I have a fair number of hats collected for Hat Not Hate now, and I would like to send them off, and this hat that I developed a pattern for, or designed a pattern for, I would also like to send them. Yes, I'm just going to send them my original sample. It's a hat that was knit to do some good, and I would like it to do that. So as I got ready to package them and send them off, I was like, oh, this is my last chance to photograph this hat and release this pattern. The pattern had been tech edited a while ago. It was sitting because I wasn't feeling motivated. So this is another one of my unisex kind of textured hats. It is a beanie. It comes in 2 sizes, adult small and adult large. I designed it with Hat Not Hate in mind. It is also the companion piece to a baby hat that I designed earlier in the year for Eucaland, which was called the Sweet Dreams hat. The adult version is called the Somnambulist, which a somnambulist is a sleepwalker. And the reason that I chose that is not specifically because it fits in with Hat Not Hate, but the yarn that I used was Dreaming Color Classy. That is their superwash worsted weight in the colorway Bedtime. And I wanted to differentiate. Originally, I was just going to call it the Sweet Dreams hat, but because I did that for the baby version, which is a free pattern that you can get, you can find it on Ravelry, but it is a free pattern that you can get from Eucaland. So if you just check out the Eucaland website for the Sweet Dreams hat, it'll let you sign up for their newsletter and you'll get that hat pattern free. My paid version of the hat, which is the adult version, as I said, is called the Somnambulist, and it is just a kind of ribbed texture pattern. It's unisex. It would be great for boys or girls. There is some ribbing down at the bottom, and then it just goes right up to the top, and of course, when in doubt, I always pom-pom. I had enough left, so I went ahead and did that, and the pattern is available on Ravelry, but I have also made it available in my Etsy shop. That's the Corner of Knit and Tea, as well as it is available on Lovecraft's Knitting, Lovecraft's, it used to be Love Knitting. It is available on the Lovecraft's website as well under my name, which is Laura Cameron. All of my patterns are available at all 3 places, at least any of them that are for sale. Some of the patterns were released, some of my patterns have been released through other companies, so they are on their websites or behind their, sign up for their newsletter and get the pattern free. But all of my patterns are now on all 3 sites. I just want to be sure that they're anywhere that might be comfortable to you if you are having accessibility issues with Ravelry. So I did release that this week. Now this one will go off to Hat Not Hate. And like I said, it is just a squishy worsted weight textured unisex hat, 2 sizes, adult small and large, needles US 6 and 8. It used somewhere around 150 yards. I didn't weigh it exactly. I know that I had plenty in 1 skein of yarn to knit the baby hat and the adult hat, but I only had enough for 1 pom-pom. So, and there was one more thing. Oh, yes, I am donating, because my hat was sort of designed with a charity project in mind, and I did do all the work and pay a tech editor, but I also felt like I wanted to give back. And Lion Brand's Hat Not Hate charity is for, in honor of World Anti-Bullying Day. It is to stamp out bullying, and they distribute hats to kids during October, which is World Anti-Bullying Month. The hats are due by August 1st, so if you wanted to knit any more for this year, now would be a good time to get knitting and get them shipped out. You can find the address. I will link the Hat Not Hate project in my show notes. And, oh, yes, what I keep trying to say is $1 from the purchase of each hat pattern will be going to It Gets Better, which is a youth LGBTQIA charity that supports LGBTQIA youth, and they are Lion Brand's partner. So that is where it's possible to donate funds, particularly towards World Anti-Bullying Day. And so, like I said, I'm going to donate $1 from every pattern purchased. To that, I will probably donate in $25 increments just because it's easiest to keep track of, or I might do it at the end of each fiscal year, but I will also be keeping track of of those donation amounts on the project page on the pattern page on Ravelry, and you can ask me about that if you want. So that is the Somnambulist. That was a long time to talk about that. Let's talk about what's on my needles this week. I find myself primarily working on 2 projects. The first one, and I even got the designer's name for today. I know it's not that exciting. It's just that I have forgotten it for the last couple weeks. I am knitting the Lolo Cowl by Olga Baraya Kafilian, and she goes by Olga Jazzy, or Olga Jazzy Knits, and this is a super fun cowl. Like I said, Lolo is a girl's name, and it kind of looks like lips, so I'm calling mine the Lips Cowl, and I really wanted to knit it after I saw her publish it, but I wasn't sure what I would want to knit it in, and then I saw the Kim Dye's Yarn community project, where she makes 2 colors available for pre-orders. She works with local yarn stores so that it supports the local yarn stores, but it also supports her business. And you pre-order the colorways in during 1 month, and then you receive them the following month. So I ordered in May, and the colors they were technically the June colors, but I ordered in May. And the colors that I chose were Firefly, which is blues and greens and little hints of yellow, and then Bioluminescence, which is this bright, crazy neon yellow, and the 2 kind of go together. They're summer colors. I would never have, I could never put this in a garment, but I just thought they were super fun colors and deserved to go together. She dyed them on her Sparkle base, which is a Superwash Merino nylon blend, and it is super soft. Every time I pick this pattern up, I feel how soft and squishy the yarn is, and I love it. So let's show you more. Last week, I think I only had 1 round, or maybe a little bit more than that, and I have tons more this week. So this is Lolo. I have approximately 3 more pattern sections, so 3 more levels of lips, but this is what I have so far. This is a super fun knit. It is super simple. You are only ever knitting with 1 color per round, and you are slipping stitches and then using stockinette and reverse stockinette to make these little welts. The pattern looks complicated. I thought there would be more techniques. Honestly, the most complicated thing of all is if you want to knit this so it is completely reversible, which the pattern looks different on the back. But if you want to knit it so this is reversible, so you can wear your cowl both ways, you would have to do a little bit more management than I have been doing with switching the yarns, because I'm just carrying the yarns up the inside of the cowl. So she does give you instructions on how to make it reversible. I just didn't. I really love this look, and so I wanted this to be outside. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I just have been loving this, and the repeats are a certain number of rows, and so I feel like a lot of nights I pick it up and do like a full repeat of, a round of lips, and I'm just loving it. It is, it's wild colors. It's not really my colors, but I love the way it's looking, and I just think it will be a fun winter piece, especially when it's cold and dreary outside. So I'm looking forward to, I hope to finish that this week, since I only have 3 more pattern repeats, and then get that blocking. And obviously I won't be wearing it now because it's 90 degrees out, but this is probably my favorite project that I'm working on right now, just because it's so fun, and it's so not me, but it's super fun. And I am keeping that in, and this kind of is all a summer theme, I am keeping that in my new bag from Beautiful Sister, which is this cool, it's like a pouch that has a carrying section, but you can also fold this in, so it's kind of self-contained, or you can fold the strap in. Okay. She designed it so that she could continue working on projects outdoors while following her kids and all kinds of things. So it's meant to go over your arms so that you can walk and knit if you would like. But the other thing you can do is you can go ahead and fold the strap inside the bag, and you can tie the top so that it's like a little origami or dumpling bag. So I really like that. This is fun. I ordered it kind of at the beginning of the lockdown, just as, you know, to support designers. They are Beautiful Sister, SYSTR, and that is on Etsy. So, and she does some cool bags, and this is just like a glamping kind of summery fabric. So the next project that I'm working on is a sample knit for Zen Yarn Garden. Oh, and I don't remember the name of this yarn. Okay, I am using their super fine fingering base, which I have been using quite a bit lately, and I am using their Metropolitan Art Walk colorway, and the name is Captain, and I can't remember what the last name is. It's Captain something, and this one is available on their website for order, and I have paired it with their semi-solid Bronze Age, which is a dark brown. So these are the two colors that I'm using. It's their super fine fingering base, which is really luscious. It feels like it might have cashmere in it, although I know it does not. It just feels like cashmere. And like I said, this one's kind of the variegate, and this one is the semi-solid. And the pattern that I am knitting for them is Elfie, and that is by Astrid Schramm. It is a summery top on Ravelry. It is I believe it is a free pattern. If not, I bought it. I have knit one before, but I believe it is a free pattern. I can't remember. It may be a paid for pattern. Elfie by Astrid Schramm, and I am knitting it per pattern. Because I only have 2 skeins of yarn, I can only knit the smallest size. The next size up calls for 850 yards, but the Zen Yarn Garden skeins are 400 yards because they are super plush and thick. If you have fingering weight skeins that are slightly longer, the original sample was done in Woolmize, which of course comes in very long skeins, but even if you have close to 450 yards, you could get through the medium size. After that, you'll actually need more, or you could combine more than 2 colors. But the top is done, I don't know if it's not the Fibonacci sequence, but the top is done in sort of arranging the light color on top and the dark color. Well, I guess you don't actually have to. It's done with 2 colors, and up at the top you are using more of one color and slimmer stripes of the second color, and then it kind of fades into doing larger stripes with the second color and lesser stripes with the first color. So let me see if I can show you this and if it will make any sense to you. I have just divided for the sleeves. So what you can see is up at the top, we're using the variegated color. I chose that because it was slightly lighter than the second color. So we are doing more rows of the Captain colorway than the Bronze Age colorway, but then as we move down, the stripes of the Bronze Age colorway are growing and the stripes of the Captain colorway are shrinking. And this is just a really nice, it's like fall colors, kind of, or it almost looks like a cherry sundae to me, where you've got the vanilla ice cream and the fudge and the cherries, and so it is kind of a chocolate cherry top, and it's interesting because the yarn did not pool for the first 2 sections, and then it did for the 3rd section because of the way the stitch count was, and I don't actually know what it's going to do below. It looks like it is doing a little bit of both. Because now I am just going to knit in around for the body all the way down to the hem. And the sleeves are actually bound off, so they are already finished. They'll curl just a little bit at the edge because of the stockinette, but then I will just give this a good blocking. So I am hoping to zoom through this week. Honestly, the pattern is not terribly complicated. However, it had enough going on at one time, and with my managing the 2 colors and at the increase rounds and figuring out when I needed to change colors, etc., I just found this a really hard thing to work on this week, and I think it was my headspace because I've knit the pattern before and it hasn't been a problem. But I am looking forward to working on the body because now all I have to count is the rows of my stripes. There is some subtle kind of A-line shaping, but I'm not too concerned about that because it's at regular lengths. This is a top-down contiguous sleeve, so you are creating the sleeve as part of the fabric, and so that is kind of interesting if you have not done that before. It's a good way to learn a new skill. But again, the pattern is written, it is a little sparse in directions, but it's written very clearly. And so I'm really pleased with this. I love the one that I have, and actually this reminded me of this pattern and that I might want to use it to knit another top for myself. I sort of, partway through, I was like, ooh, I have this yarn and I could totally knit this for myself. And I was like, ooh, I should cast on. No, I have like 4 sweaters on the needles that I need to go back to. So, yes. So, I'm going to try and finish this sample this week. I don't know that it will be finished this week because I still have a ways to go on the knitting. The body is fairly long, but I will continue to do so, and we'll see how far I get. So those are the 2 things that I think I will be working on this week. I did not bring with me my Christmas socks for the Christmas in July make-along, which is going on currently in the Ravelry group, and you can also participate on Instagram if you would like to. I basically just thought it would be fun to do a little bit of a make-along during the summer. I've done this before, and the premise was that I never actually get to knit my Christmas socks right before Christmas and wear them for Christmas because I'm always too busy finishing up gifts or other winter knits. And so I decided that I would knit myself a couple years ago. I decided I would knit myself a pair of Christmas socks in July. And so I have started knitting a pair, but I haven't gotten any further than the toe that I showed you 2 weeks ago. So my goal is to try and finish these 2 projects this week so that the last 2 weeks of July I can work on socks. That will coincide with Woolly Wonka Fibers is starting the 100 Days of Socks Cal. I have spoken a little bit about the 100 Days project, which I am participating in with my crochet blankets, and that is a project that asks you to spend 100 days working on a specific craft or task or something that you would like to do for yourself. You can use it to build a habit, you can use it to explore an artistic process. I decided the theory is that you will work on the project for about an hour a day, and in 100 days you can put together 100 hours worth of work and see how far that gets you. I have been doing my crochet blankets. I also did not bring that this week because it doesn't look substantially different. But remember, I finished Miles' rainbow blanket and I am working on Roxy's sweet pea blanket now. And that challenge, the 100-day challenge, began in April and ends on either July 17th or 19th. I can't remember which one. But one of those 2 is the finishing date for the project. And Anne of the Woolly Wonka Fibers podcast and Woolly Wonka Fibers, she was having so much, she was the one who sort of turned me on to the 100-day project, and she was having so much fun with it that she decided she'd like to dedicate the next 100 days to knitting socks. And so she has sort of spearheaded the 100 Days of Socks Cal in her Ravelry group, and I'll put a link to that group in the show notes. But I would like to knit some socks this summer, and I want to knit socks for various reasons. I need to knit socks for my niece and nephew for their Christmas presents because I always give them some new socks around the holidays. So I want to knit each of them a couple pairs of socks, and I have a bunch of handspun skeins that I would like to turn into socks for myself. My sock drawer actually runneth over, and so I am a little I don't want to say discriminatory. I am particular about what socks I knit at this point because my sock drawer is so full. I just don't have room for that many more socks. However, I absolutely love handspun socks, and I will make an exception for them any day of the week. And I have either 2 or 3 or possibly 4 skeins of yarn spun up already on Corriedale, which is my favorite for socks. I've said that a million times before. I just like the properties of it. It's soft and it's sturdy enough to create a sturdy sock, but it's soft enough that it's not itchy because I have special snowflake skin and my ankles get itchy if I use certain kinds of yarns. Anyway, so I would like to make a dent in some of those, and I plan to be knitting socks starting July 17th, starting the day after the 100-day project ends. That is when the sock cal starts. I think the sock cal starts the 19th. So I will try to turn my attention to my Christmas socks for the end of the month, as well as starting on socks for the kiddos. So that is the knitting. Oh my goodness, it's 23 minutes. I am long-winded today, and I haven't even gotten to the main event, which is what I have been spinning. So, sip of tea, and then let's talk about the spins. We are currently towards the end of the Tour de Fleece, which is a spin-along event that usually occurs in concurrence with the Tour de France. The Tour de France is not taking place this year, or at least it is currently postponed, but I suspect they may cancel it because of the current world events and COVID. But the Tour de Fleece group decided on Ravelry, decided to press on because we all could use some cheering up this summer. Basically, the Tour de Fleece challenges you to spin during the Tour de France, and so it is basically to spin for 21 days. You take rest days when the bikers rest, you challenge yourself on the days when the bikers are challenged, and it is just a fun summer activity. For 10 years now, this is actually my 11th year, although I guess you would call it an atypical year. I started spinning in 2010, in the spring of 2010, and that summer was my first Tour de France and Tour de Fleece, and because I was participating in Tour de Fleece, I actually decided to start watching the Tour de France bike race. I don't watch sports, I don't watch cycling, I only watch the Tour de France. So for the last 10 summers, I have watched the Tour de France and spun along, and this year I would have done the same, but again, the Tour de France isn't running, but I am still spinning. So let's show you some of my spins. One that I showed you last week, but it wasn't washed and ready to go, was Prim. This was from 2 by Hand Yarns. I meant to get this up in the shop this week, but I tried to take photos twice, and for whatever reason, my photo mojo was completely out of whack. I usually, with hand spun yarns at this point, I have a couple ways that I twist the yarn and I take the photos and I'm ready to go. And I shot a whole set of photos that looked terrible. They were blurry. They just looked terrible and did not look much like the yarn. So I need to reshoot those this afternoon. So this one has not been posted in the shop yet, but this is Prim. It is named after a character in the Hunger Games trilogy, and it is oranges and pinks and then some blues and a little bit of purple. And as soon as I get good photos of this, this one will be up in the Etsy shop. This is Superwash Merino, and I got approximately 350 yards. So it is probably a sport to DK weight and super squishy, and if those are your colors, that will be in the shop shortly. The spin I had not finished when I talked to you last week. I believe I showed you the finished bobbin, or possibly not even that. It might have still been on the wheel for the last little bit. Was 6 ounces of fiber from Fat Cat Knits. It was in the Galaxy colorway, and it is Tarhi. And this is what it looks like. It is blues and teals and purples and a little bit of white, and it came out to a beautifully springy, really squishy skein of yarn, and I spun this one thin, which surprised me a little bit, but this one is 5.9 ounces and 688 yards, which means it is, I think it looks more like a sport, but technically that is fingering weight yardage. So this is a super squishy skein. It would make a great shawl or winter accessories, or potentially a lightweight sweater. I don't know, it depends how much yardage you would need to do that, or if you would need to combine it with a solid color. This is, I can't remember if this one is superwash. I have to double check the label, because I was going to say it would make great kids stuff if it is superwash, but I cannot remember. But I was just floored at the yardage that I got for just under 6 ounces, and I will be putting this one up in the shop this week as well. So the next spin that I showed you, I think in progress and possibly on the bobbin, was my spin from the fiber that I dyed with beets. And unfortunately, well, okay, I spin a lot of my spins as a 2-ply, and what I do is I spin all the singles onto one bobbin. I usually wind it off the bobbin using a ball winder into a cake, and then I ply from the center and the outside of the cake. So I end up with a 2-ply, and I don't waste any of the yardage in trying to match my bobbins up. Unfortunately, my photo mojo also extended to ball winder mojo last week, and when I was trying to wind the beet fiber onto the ball winder, or the beat fiber singles onto the ball winder, something happened and the cake got hopelessly tangled, and I lost probably more than half the fiber, which was really kind of a bummer. The skein was small to begin with. It was only 1.9 ounces of fiber, so I'm not sure how much I would have gotten, but instead I have this really tiny skein that is just under an ounce of 2-ply that I spun from the beat fiber. It is lovely. I don't know what I'll do with it, and I don't know what I would have done with the 2 ounces. It was really more of an experiment to see if I could dye and what it would look like, and I am pleased with the way it came out. It spun thin. This is actually superwash merino. I could potentially, I still have 6 ounces left. I could potentially procure more beet juice. I would have to have my husband eat more pickled beets, but I feel that he would not be upset by that. But I would have to have him eat a bunch of pickled beets, or I would have to start with beets as a dye stock to be able to do more with it. I don't know if I'll do that because I also don't know that it's a color that I would particularly wear, but I was interested in seeing it. So I do have a little souvenir memento, and I don't remember how many yards I spun. I'm thinking this is probably like 60 or 80 yards would be my guess. It's a little thinner than my normal spin, so it could even be close to 100, but it's not more than that because it's only an ounce. So that was that one. It was a little disappointing. So this week I have been working on 2 new spins, which I have shared on Instagram. The first I showed you originally, which is Hello Yarn Fibers Mignardays, and this is on Falkland, which is a great fiber, particularly for beginning spinners. Falkland is a type of, I can't remember now. It is not a merino. Falkland is a kind of longer stapled fiber. It is soft like merino, but it is a little bit more long and a little bit more longer stapled and a little bit more lustrous, a little bit more like BFL. And so it makes it, well, I guess not super lustrous. It is longer stapled like BFL. And so the deal is that Falkland is ideal for beginning spinners because it drafts really nicely. I have always been a fan of Falkland, even beyond when I'm a beginning spinner, which I wouldn't really consider myself a beginning spinner anymore. Anyway, I had two bumps, and so I actually, this is the first bump and the second bump is on the wheel right now. Contrary to what I just said about playing from a center pole ball so that there's no waste, that's great. That is how I normally do it, but fresh off of my accident with the beet fiber, I decided since I was spinning 2 bumps of Mignardays, I would spin one on one bobbin and one on the other bobbin. Typically my issue is that typically my issue is that I'm lazy and I don't want to divide the fiber in 2 using a scale, which wouldn't take any time at all, but I'm lazy, so I just start spinning. Also, again, I don't like, the potential is that if you spin your fiber on 2 different bobbins, even if you weigh it and have exactly equal amounts, you may spin one a little longer than the other, and so you'll have leftover singles, and I just hate the waste because there are plenty of things you can do with those leftover singles. You can practice chain plying, you can save them up and use them to build a whole skein of crazy yarn of odds and ends, which I have done before, but in general I am spinning for my shop, and so I just don't like there to be waste left over. I like to get every last yard of yarn I can. Anyway, so that's normally how I spin, but like I said, fresh off my fiber jumping off the wheel, jumping off the ball winder and feeling like I didn't want to lose any more fiber, I figure I will ply these from the bobbins, and I have a lazy Kate that I can put them on, and hopefully I will spin at roughly similar weights and lengths for both bobbins so that I won't have too much left over. This one I am doing as a fractal spin, so which I have told you before, usually you would divide a braid into 2 pieces and you would spin 1/2 in short color runs and 1/2 in long color runs. Again, because I had 2 bumps, I divided 1 bump into short color runs, that is this bobbin, and the other bobbin I am spinning in long color runs. Because I am using the whole bump of fiber, I actually did divide that bump. So this bump I divided into 4 or 5 skinny strips of, no, actually I divided it in half, and then I divided each half into 4 or 5 skinny strips, and then spun all those little strips so so that I had lots of really short runs of color. For the other bobbin, I divided the fiber in half lengthwise, so I had 2 really long strips of those color runs, and I spun those end to end. And I have, well, I'm not quite done with it. I have 2 more small sections. Well, I guess I spun it all as the thing. I have about half left to spin tonight, and so I hope to finish that tonight and then ply these tomorrow night. So the final spin I have on the wheel right now is, as you remember, I only pulled out 5 bumps of fiber to start with, and I have made it through all 5 of those bumps of fiber once I finish this one. So I pulled out a braid that I had been hoarding for a long time. This is a braid of Southern Cross fiber from back when I was a club member. He still has a club offering. Excuse me. He still has a club offering. This was on my favorite base that he does, South African Superfine. This is called the Final Frontier. I can't remember whether I showed you this last week. I don't think I did. But this is a braid I have been hoarding in my deep stash forever. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be pretty yarn, and it is going to be mine because I had a number of purple braids come through the stash, and this one I was like, this is the one I want to keep. So this is all I have left to spin of that one. My plan is to finish spinning that on Wednesday night at knit night, and then ply this one on Thursday. So that is 2 more skeins I hope to finish before the end of the tour. Technically the tour ends on Saturday, so I will have a few more evenings, and I haven't decided if I'm going to start another spin. However, whatever comes, I think my next spin is going to be this one from Hello Yarn. And this is the most recent club colorway from Hello Yarn. She mails them out. June's color gets mailed out the last day or 2 of June or the very beginning of July. So I think most of you, if you are a member of the club, you would have received yours already. If you are not, I'm telling you right now so that you can look away. This is the Hello Yarn June Club colorway. So look away if you don't want to see this, but I think by July 13th, most people should have received theirs by now. This is a lovely braid of Corriedale. Remember, I just talked about Corriedale for socks. This is called Midsummer, and it is pinks and browns and then kind of icy blues. And I really, really love this, and I want this to be socks for me, and I want it to be socks for me right away. So my plan is to throw this one on the wheel next and do a sock yarn for myself, and then it will be part of my 100 days of socks coming up in July, August, and September. So that is what I've got going on. So all that is to say, I have been doing things. So look for the skeins to go up on Etsy. Look for my pictures. If you are participating in our group on Ravelry for Tour de Fleece, or if you are spinning on the team, even if you cannot participate in Ravelry, I have so enjoyed having you join us on this journey this year. It has been a little different, but I have been glad to kind of get together and spin. I've already given away 2 prizes in the chatty thread, and I will be giving away a 3rd prize probably this week, and then we'll have our final prize after the tour is over. You'll have a couple days to finish your spins and take some photographs, and I will start a finished photo thread for that. So that will be coming to an end before I see you again, but I have been having a good time doing that, and I hope you've enjoyed your spinning or seeing what others are spinning around you. I think at 37 minutes, I am going to call it quits. I hope you have a lovely week ahead. Be healthy, be safe, be crafty if you feel the urge to do so, or it makes you feel better. And until I see you next time, I will say happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.